The subway rattled down the dark tunnels of New York City, its fluorescent lights flickering faintly against the metallic walls. It was late, far later than anyone should have been riding home after a long shift, but for Emma, it was just another night in an endless chain of exhausting days. Her eyes stung with fatigue. She had worked a double shift at the diner, on her feet for over 14 hours, and every muscle in her body screamed for rest. Clutching her worn-out tote bag against her chest, she sat on the edge of the plastic seat and closed her eyes. Her little girl, Lily, was asleep at a neighbor's apartment. Emma had promised to be home by midnight, but delays at work and a missed train meant she'd be lucky if she made it back before dawn. The guilt gnawed at her, missing bedtime again, missing the good night story, missing the warm hug. Emma was a single mother at 27, her life a careful balancing act of bills, childcare, and endless work. Her ex had left 2 years ago, disappearing without a backward glance. Since then, she had survived on sheer willpower and the quiet fire of love she held for Lily. She leaned her head back against the cold subway wall, whispering to herself, just 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes of rest. The train jolted, and she felt herself sliding sideways. Before she could stop it, her head came to rest on the shoulder of the man sitting next to her. He stiffened for a moment, surprised. Alexander Hayes, CEO of one of the most powerful real estate firms in New York, wasn't used to strangers leaning on him, let alone on a grimy subway ride he rarely took. But tonight, his chauffeur was unavailable, and he had insisted on experiencing what he once called the common man's commute. It had been years since he'd stepped into a subway car, years since he had breathed this air thick with fatigue and quiet despair. Now, here he was, in his tailored navy suit, with a young woman's head resting lightly on his shoulder. He turned slightly to glance at her. Her face was tired, etched with the kind of exhaustion that spoke of far more than just a long day. Strands of her hair clung to her damp forehead, and her breathing had already deepened into the rhythm of someone too tired to stay awake any longer. For a fleeting moment, Alex considered shifting away. But then he noticed her hands. They were calloused, her knuckles red from scrubbing or serving, yet she clutched her bag like it contained her entire world. There was something in that posture that struck him as something that reminded him of his own mother, long gone now, who had once worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table after his father's sudden death. Instead of moving, Alex stayed perfectly still. The minutes ticked by, the subway roaring and screeching through the tunnels, but the young woman did not stir. She seemed lost in her stolen moment of peace, and for reasons Alex could not explain, he didn't want to take it away from her. The train stopped at 34th Street. People shuffled in and out. A man in a wrinkled jacket sneered at Emma, muttering under his breath, "Figures." Some people can't even stay awake in public. Normally, Alex would have ignored it. He was used to the harshness of New York, used to minds that moved only toward their own troubles. But something in him snapped. "She's tired," Alex said sharply, his voice carrying a weight that made the man falter. "More tired than you'll ever understand. Leave her alone." The man's eyes widened, then he hurried away, muttering something else under his breath but too cowardly to continue. Emma didn't stir. She slept on, her head resting gently against the shoulder of a man who could have bought the entire train 10 times over. When the train reached its last stop, Alex hesitated. Should he wake her? Should he let her go on her way, a stranger he would never see again? Or should he do something more? "Miss," he said softly, touching her arm. Emma jerked awake, her eyes wide with panic. "Oh, I'm sorry." She pulled away immediately, her cheeks flushing crimson. "I didn't mean her. I must veer." "It's all right," Alex interrupted, his voice calm. "You were tired. Don't apologize." Emma blinked at him. She noticed the expensive cut of his suit, the gleam of his polished shoes, the watch that probably cost more than her monthly rent. She frowned, instantly self-conscious. "Thank you," she murmured, clutching her bag closer. "I should go." He could have let her leave. He could have let her disappear into the night, just another nameless face in the city. But as she hurried toward the exit, Something inside him refused to let her vanish. "Wait," he called out. She turned, startled. Alex hesitated. He wasn't even sure what he wanted to say. "Are you a broken bar all right? Do you have someone waiting for you?" Emma's throat tightened. She didn't want to admit the truth to a stranger, especially not to someone who looked like he belonged in a penthouse far above her world. But the words slipped out anyway. "My daughter. She's waiting for me." The honesty in her voice caught him off guard. For a long moment, they just stood there, two strangers from two entirely different worlds, staring at each other in the dim light of the empty subway station. Then Emma turned and left, her footsteps echoing down the stairs. Alex watched her go, a strange weight settling in his chest. He told himself it was nothing, that it was just a fleeting encounter. Yet as he rode a cab back to his penthouse, the image of her exhausted face would not leave his mind. The next day, Emma returned to the diner. She tied her apron around her waist and forced a smile as she greeted customers, balancing plates and coffee cups with practiced ease. She had no idea that the man from the subway was about to walk back into her life in a way that would shock everyone, including herself.